Sadistic Penguin Studios presents the At the Show podcast with Tom Yumper Garcia.
Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. And if we're not back by dawn, call the president.
And Tony Chalsa Burt.
I don't know this industry jargon, YP, MP, whatever, okay? All I know is that I cannot get a record contract. We cannot get a record contract unless I take these tapes.
It's almost time, so grab a drink, get your popcorn ready, and join the film discussion with two guys from Chicago talking movies.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the At the Show podcast. My name is Tom Yumper Garcia. I'm with my other co-host, Tony the Sugar Baggy Bird. How you doing, my man?
I am doing good. I feel like this is the last amazing thing I got to do for the week, and then I could relax for about 7 hours, and then tomorrow I got communion I have to be at 9 a.m. So going to be a gauntlet, but you know what? What better way to get through it than talking some awesome movies?
Yes, sir. Are you going to burn when you enter the church?
It's funny you should bring that up because there's a scene that I know you're going to know as soon as you see the poster for one of my movies I've seen lately that you'll definitely think of here in 1 second.
The reason I say that is because when me and my wife were getting married, my brother-in-law was talking about the altar, but he called it the stage. And he's like, I don't know, I might explode if I step on the stage. And we're like, what? This is not a play, bro.
There's the stage.
So, but yeah, we have a action-packed episode for you with the reason why we're doing a Clint Eastwood episode. We'll talk about when we get to the Clint Eastwood stuff, but we have a new segment with you today with one of Tony's friends from the Hookup on Film, Adam, that's going to be joining us, which will probably be a regular segment going forward, but we'll get to that when we introduce him. But Tone, let's just go straight into things and get to what we've been watching this week, my friend.
Let's do it.
That's me. And also, what were you just watching?
So what were you watching this week, Tone?
A double Keanu fest. Last night I stumbled onto Showtime was playing Point Break, and I hadn't sat down and watched Point Break in a while being a couple years, and it being a long week, I watched the movie, and it's always awesome to watch Point Break. Gary Busey, we'll just focus in on him tonight in this movie because generally we could talk about anyone in the film, and even your boy Anthony Kiedis, he does a fine job in this film. Usually you're talking about maybe some Flea performances, not Kiedis from the Chili Peppers, but in this film though, Gary Busey does a good job as the partner to Keanu Reeves. He does really stupidly make a dumb play and get shot in the stomach, which I watched it again last night, and I'm like, Gary, why would you go out and put yourself out there like that? You're a seasoned cop. But it's okay. Gary does a great job. Action sequences are great. I think Swayze definitely. I mean, Roadhouse, you could see Swayze. This movie's a little more for Swayze. I think jumping out of planes. I don't know any other performances that are like this for Swayze off the top of my head, where he gives as much in the performance. But always a good watch. What do you think?
Oh, I love Point Break. Johnny Utah, man. Utah from Ohio State. This is like the first run of Keanu Reeves playing quarterbacks from Ohio State, because he goes on to play Shane Falco in The Replacements, who's a quarterback, which is there's a fan theory that Shane Falco basically is Johnny Utah. But I love Point Break, not just because, you have the Chili Peppers in there, but the fact that Patrick Swayze plays such a good role, and you kind of feel bad for him a little bit with his bond with Keanu Reeves as he goes undercover. Have you happened to see the remake of this?
I didn't want to bring it up, but since you have, unfortunately, yes. It just doesn't have any of the, for me, I don't want, if you like it, that's okay. I respect your opinion, but it's more of nothing like this movie. It doesn't give me that feel. It's kind of like Dirty Dancing of Anna Nights, another Patrick Swayze movie where it's like, doesn't feel anything like what the original felt like.
So I've never seen the remake. I haven't heard good things about it. The only reason I didn't watch it was because there was the Total Recall remake came out with Colin Farrell. And that kind of gave me like a bad taste in my mouth because it was so bad. I'm like, I don't want to watch the new Point Break remake.
It's worse than that, okay, but I will tell you this. It's better than the newest Crow.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's a lot of movies.
You know why? Because cinematography is just so much better in it than that new Crow. So at least you could say you're looking at beautiful locales and some sunny beaches. With the Crow, it was like bad, but always a good movie, good soundtrack. It's a good time.
Yes, sir. So what else were you watching, my friend?
You brought up the church scene. So, of course, the scene with the amazing Mr. Pacino, where he puts his finger and he's smiling as he puts it into the holy water and it smokes. That's what I thought of when you talked about me walking into the church tomorrow. But this to me, I mean, off the top of my head, probably my last, I would say, an awesome Pacino performance where he's a lead. Just off the top of my head, when this movie came out, I think I remember seeing it a couple times at opening weekend, and I did not see many movies like that. I just really like this movie a lot. I like the twist. I don't know if I was just young and naive, but I didn't see it coming the first time, like really like what it was about. But just great performances. In the campy variety, I would say, like Pacino really camps out his performance. Keanu Reeves with the Southern drawl is really to be admirable. You even got the principal from Ferris Bueller, Jeffrey Jones, and a ridiculous. I mean, just a lot of. But what I always like the most about it is the end. I just like the way it all wraps up, and the little twist and. It's always just a favorite one to put on if you're just kind of relaxing and chilling. What do you think of The Devil's Advocate?
I like it. Shout out to Al Pacino. Today's his 85th birthday.
Really? Look at that. I didn't even know that.
It's kind of amazing you picked that film. It's an interesting concept. I thought it was something that was different. Of course, I can't get past Keanu Reeves' Southern accent. But I mean, you have to push past that to see the film. I actually like this film. Charlize Theron was very good in it. You have Coach. I don't even know his
Coach that's who I forgot about. His performances.
Yeah, I forget his real name.
Really
He was you also got DeRoy Lindo as the voodoo guy.
That's right. That was good too.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy. I do like the twist at the end when we find out what's the guy trying to convince him to go back into the courtroom. But it does show the crappy things that lawyers have to do for their candidates. And I like it. It made me think about when he's talking about how he listened to a jury through a crack in the wall. I actually got chosen for jury duty to go be selected for jury duty. And I had to go Wednesday, and I was there for like 6 hours. Luckily, I wasn't chosen for the actual jury, but they had me sit in the jury box and ask us a ton of questions. My God, is it boring? But the lawyers, they do grill you. So,
yeah.
But two good flicks, man. Both Keanu flicks.
Keanu, yes.
Yeah, your flicks kind of had a theme. My flicks, they're kind of out there, man. Like the first one I watched was No Escape with Ray Liotta. I know we talked about this film. The reason I watched this was because I saw it on Prime, and my mom happened to be sitting there in the kitchen eating breakfast. And she's like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's a movie about him going to like a island and he's a prisoner." And she's like, "Oh," I'm like, "Do you want to watch it?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then she was like, "This is ridiculous." I think it's based in 2022 or something, or 2018 or something like that, which is way past where we are now. We're supposed to be sending people to another country or island where they are basically on a captivity as prisoners, which is kind of happening right now. I mean, they're sending them to another country, so the irony in that.
I like that.
But I always liked the film just because I thought it was interesting. I like Liotta. There is some funny parts in the film that are not supposed to be funny, especially when he first lands on the island and runs after that guy that's swinging the ball on the string and it hits him in the head.
Oh yeah,
Stuff like that. The comedic guy who's out fishing for stuff from the sea with his little friend, his tiny sized friend who talks trash to. And then you have to realize, like, even though you like some of these characters, even Ernie Hudson, like these people are pretty bad people. That's the reason they ended up on this island. So even though you can identify with them, but overall, I like No Escape. Pretty good, decent movie for sci-fi. What about you?
Again, it's that early 90s, like, surviving the game, something that you can put on that's just like, it's kind of, I don't want to, it's an original story, but now as you're saying it, it's not, it's like it's not so original. You can't, it's like almost before its time, almost. I mean,
Mhm.
Kevin Dillon is ridiculous in this movie. Lance Henriksen as the father.
Yeah.
What a performance there. Just a lot of really, really good. You also had Kevin O'Connor from the Mummy movies. He was in it.
Mhm.
Just good 90s nostalgic sci-fi out there action flick.
Yeah, yeah. It's out there. It's interesting. Maybe like you said, not an original concept, but it's action packed. It flows nicely.
Mhm.
You suspend belief. And it has the guy from Elf, the boss of James Caan, as the bad guy, which I think is funny too.
Well, it is an original concept. It's more of like, because now it's came out in 92 and now 2025, you're almost like, wow, it's not so fake. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, they
but it's
predict the
cool to
future.
watch because you're empathetically go back to 92 and be like, back then, this could never happen, and now you're like, well, it could kind of happen.
Yeah, that's crazy. Oh man, with the movies are telling, just like The Simpsons, they could just predict the future.
There you go.
And the second film I watched, oh my god, I saw this film on Prime, and I was doing something for work. I had some time run some tests, so I decided to pop it on while I was running my test. And it's a film I have not watched since my college days, and I remember watching it specifically last time with my roommate, and he was like, "What the fuck just happened in this film? Like, it has makes no sense." And that's the 1992 film Sidekicks, which is directed by Aaron Norris, the brother of Chuck Norris. And it stars Jonathan Brandis, Bew Bridges, Mako, Danica McKellar in there, and probably the best part of the movie, Joe Piscopo, when he got completely ripped in the film. Uh, the movie is just basically it's like Karate Kid, a reimagining of the Karate Kid, I guess, but it's not really done well. But Chuck Norris somehow meets him at a karate tournament and becomes his teammate, and they beat Joe Piscopo's team. The best part of the movie, I think, is the Joe Piscopo Chuck Norris fight. But there's a lot of callbacks to like other like action films, like Rambo, and like a lot of, I guess, under siege cop films and gangster films. Like, I don't know if they kind of like to go back to the Seagal Out for Justice with the little gold chains they have and the shotguns. I don't know if they're trying to pull that. There's even a Western part in it. It's just ridiculous, man. Have you seen this film?
It's been, honestly, it has been all the way back since, what's that? It's been before. When did this come out? 94, 92, 93?
92.
93. I mean, I haven't watched it since then. And what I do remember it, I mean, your description seems to be pretty accurate to my imagination. I mean, sadly, I'll always, it's just RIP, Jonathan Brandis. That's, pretty much where, and Chuck Norris, I mean, really, this is kind of one of his only, like, I would say, like a mainstream movie like this, where like most of them are all like cookie cutter action movies. But I don't remember much more than that.
Yeah, I would say I think like most of his movies are B movies, like Delta Force.
B movies, yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
I think the only one I could think that was kind of top tier, and that was because it involved all action stars of the 80s and 70s and 90s, and that was The Expendables 2, where he played a
that's true.
character in
That's
there.
true. I totally forgot he was in that one.
But yeah, it's just basically a retelling of The Karate Kid, but just a different kid. And without Mr. Miyagi, you have Mako instead. But if you haven't seen that one, let me know, because it's completely out there, and you'll be like, why am I? It's kind of corny, but yet you're like, what is going on? I always thought the kid had schizophrenia.
Well, from what I remember, he had something.
Yeah, because there's a part where he's like talking to Chuck Norris, and his whole classroom is looking at him like, "What the hell?" Like, and they laugh at him.
Ridiculous.
Definitely ridiculous. But that's what we watched this week. Let us know what you watched over at the show Pod on Twitter, X, whatever they call it this week, or on Facebook at Sadistic Penguin Studios, or you can let us both know Blue Sky at the Hookup on Music or at lilyumper.bluesky.social. Tone, we do have a little bit of news I want to get to, but before we get to that, let's actually bring in our guest because I want to get his opinion on it as well because he's a movie guy.
All right,
but
let's do it.
Let's get to our guest, Adam from the Hookup on Film.
The Hookup's here on film with Adam near. A jazzy twist for your listening ear. Settle back now, let the rhythm take flight. It's Adam's world under soft, sultry light. Hi.
I try to make that as easy as possible, Adam.
Boy, that makes me want to sit in a bath right now.
That's next time. That's what we're gonna have set up for you. It's candles and everything, and that was amazing. That was epic. Thank you, my man, for joining us here this evening.
Well,
It's
as always, I enjoyed.
You just alerted me before we got on here that you wrote some stuff back in 2022. That's when we started talking movies. It's been a journey. So I'm glad that you finally got a job where we can talk on a Friday night. So very cool. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
But we bring you here tonight because you have seen a brand new movie entitled The Black Bag, directed by Mr. Steven Soderbergh, who's done such great movies as Traffic, Sex Lies, and Videotape. Aaron Brockovich, Ocean's 11. If you're looking for something a little bit under the radar, The Limey is a pretty good movie. But before we get into who's in it and some questions, what's one of your favorite films?
One of my favorite films in general?
Yeah, in general. I know you got lots of them. Just give us one of them tonight.
Let me shuffle through my memories here. I've always been a fan of older film noir.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of my favorite movies ever is The Third Man.
Oh, that's a good one.
I love that movie. And that's one of those movies that I can pretty much, every time it's on, I'll watch it. Or if I watch myself, I complete it. I don't just watch part of it and come back to it later. And that's kind of one of my that's kind of how I judge how much I like a movie sometimes.
Oh,
it was one of those things where, like, well, I gotta go to bed. Maybe I'll stay up another little bit to watch this. Or something's on TV, you turn on, next thing you know, 2 hours later, you've watched the whole thing. That can also happen with bad movies too. It's the only saying goes, you get Shawshanked. Like I get Shawshanked by The Third Man for sure. So if anyone has not seen that, I would definitely suggest seeing it. I won't get into all of it, but it is a phenomenal film. And Dick Cavett, if you remember Dick Cavett from the Dick Cavett Show back in the 70s, said it is probably a perfect movie.
Awesome. Very, very cool. So yeah, definitely check out The Third Man if you have not seen that. That's what's cool. You also love movies. You talk quite a lot about like Clue you love Clue.
I'm a Clue fiend. I get down with Clue.
So it's like that's what's cool. You spread the spectrum on really awesome and amazing movies. And you speaking about watching a movie, a lot that you enjoy. Didn't you say you've seen The Black Bag a couple times at the movie theater?
I've seen it twice.
Very awesome.
I did see it when it came out. I kind of on a whim, I just went and saw it, and then me and my fiance went and saw it about, I want to say, a week later.
Very awesome.
And she enjoyed it well.
Well, that's awesome. Very cool. Because you've always stated how much you love Fassbender. Michael Fassbender, star of the movie The Black Bag.
Yes.
Along with Gustav Skarsgård, Cate Blanchett, Naomi Harris, and Mr. Pierce Bronson. Would you say that Michael steals the show in this film?
Actually, I wouldn't.
Oh.
Now, not that his performance is perfect for what he's trying to do in this, but honestly, I say Tom Burke was probably my favorite character in this film.
Ooh.
And he gives off a very big, if you haven't seen Tom Burke has done, it's kind of funny I mentioned The Third Man because Orson Welles is in The Third Man, and Tom Burke actually played Orson Welles in Mank. So if you've seen Mank, that's the guy playing Orson Welles is Tom Burke.
Oh,
and
yes.
Yeah, he gives off a very big, if you're familiar with Eddie Izzard, he's a very, very Eddie Izzard vibe when it comes to his delivery and dry humor and just things like that. So, but he was probably, from what I took away, had the best performance in this film. And it's also, you know, the script didn't favor Fassbender to really be such a huge personality. He's kind of the same type of stoic character he is in The Killer, in a way, the Fincher film. And I mean, he has a little more dialogue than he did in The Killer, obviously, but he plays a very serious character who's pretty much in control of his emotions at all time. There's very few scenes that I can only think of one or two, honestly, where you kind of see like chinks in his armor a little bit. He has this huge this facade he puts on where he just observes and sets things up. He's very plotting, and that's what his character is, and he does it very well. We've seen him in several different films. The first time I really saw him in a movie was in Inglourious Bastards, and obviously he was great in that. That was probably the best scene in the whole movie when they're in that basement bar, at least in my opinion. But and he's done several other things, obviously. But this movie is kind of a departure from what he usually does, except with the exception of The Killer. So these two movies he's done recently it shows he's got a lot of range, and he doesn't mind not having a lot of dialogue in the film, because he's a guy who you can put in any role. He'll hit his marks. He'll hit, he'll deliver things well, and he did in this film as well. And he was very good opposite Cate Blanchett, which I thought was kind of an interesting dynamic, putting those two together, but it did work. So, but
very cool that Fassbender, because I just watched him on Paramount Plus. He's got a new show called The Agency. I don't know if you checked that out.
I did watch the first episode of that. I haven't watched the rest of it yet.
Very, very awesome. Made it through the whole series, and he's I mean, as I stated, he's with great scripts, he can do just about anything like anybody else. In this movie, though, what was there anything that you would say that, or was it pretty good all the way through? Was there anything you would change? What would you?
Well, I usually say I'm a person who likes longer films. Some people don't like that. If it's a 3-hour movie, I'm down to clown with that.
Wait, Adam, you said you're a person who likes longer films?
Yes.
Oh, I knew you were coming with this.
Tony loves long films.
I said I like a longer film if it makes sense, but I know that Adam likes a good long. I bet Adam, you love the Brutalist runtime.
Yes, and I mean you're looking at a guy. I went to the theater to watch the full remastered 4-hour version of Lawrence of Arabia, and just enjoyed myself. Didn't get up during the intermission even. So it was, awesome, I'm good with that. But if it serves its purpose, this movie itself. I mean,
what about Once Upon a Time in America, Sergio Leone?
Oh, I love. I mean, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's the longer version's the better version. It doesn't always end up that way, and there's an editing process for a reason. But there's a lot of movies. Like if you, I'm just throw an example out there real quick, like Superman 2. If you ever watched the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2, I don't think it was as good as the original edit. It was longer, had a little more in it, but I don't think it served much of a purpose to the story. So,
what about the Highlander 2 cut?
Well, that I can't even say I've seen that. So, but
it's don't watch either of them, the original or that cut.
But this movie, the runtime I think is, I want to say 93 minutes, so it's not a very long film, which is okay. There are a few things that could have been fleshed out a little bit better. The origin, not so much the origin, but a little bit more background of Cate Blanchett's character and Michael Fassbender's character would have been kind of nice, because this movie, what people need to understand, I think, is it's pretty much listed as a spy thriller. But if you really get down to the core of what this movie is, it's really like a romantic drama piece is what it is. So it's just, the backdrop is they work at this agency. They're spies. Cate Blanchett's more of a field spy, and Michael Fassbender is kind of on the more of the intel side, I would say. But he also does stuff like interrogations. There's a few interrogation scenes in this film. But the most interesting parts of the film are the parts where really the beginning, I would say the dinner table scenes where they're at their home. I'm not going to spoil much for you, but like those are the scenes where the most tension really comes out. And when I say this is more of a romantic drama, it's because this movie's kind of about relationships. So the term black bag is meant to be like during the movie, one of the characters says, this job is perfect for someone. Basically, it's so easy to cheat on somebody with this job because they always have an excuse of saying, I can't tell you what I'm doing because of my work. I can't tell you where I'm going. I can only tell you when I'm going to be back. And that's it. They call it their black bag. So if they ask them questions about their work, they say black bag. They can't talk about it. So it's how some of these characters develop relationships or in relationships, but they can't keep them because the temptation's there and it's so easy to stray away, except for Fassbender's character and Cate Blanchett. And their bond is so strong in this that the characters surrounding them, their friends, colleagues, are wondering how they keep this going or if it's real or not. And that's kind of what this movie's about, how far you'll go to find out things about your significant other, how much you trust them, and basically the lengths you'll go to protect them if you need to. So that's kind of if you strip this movie down, that's kind of what it is. It's not so much a spy thriller. It is a spy thriller in the sense that there's things going on like, there's espionage, there's a terrorist plot, but those are all plot devices for this film to keep moving forward. The climax of this movie has nothing to do with them stopping a terrorist plot. It's kind of figuring out who this mole is in their department, who this traitor is, whether it's Cate Blanchett or whether it's somebody else. But that's kind of what it is. If you're looking for action, this is not quite the spy thriller you're looking for. There's not a lot of action in this. There's hardly any action scenes. It's all, observation, tension. It all grows throughout the movie. I think it was paced pretty well. If it was about 2 hours long, maybe it'd have been fine. Not anything longer than that. But when I think about it more, I don't know if they could have crammed in another half hour of. I really don't think they could have gone that half-hour runtime with it. So the runtime with it's okay. It'll keep people interested, and I think it's a type of movie that these movies that anyone can go to and watch and enjoy. But like I said, Marissa Abella is another character in this movie who plays Tom Burke's girlfriend. And she works in the department. They all work in the department. They're all kind of colleagues. She was actually I never realized that she was even in this movie, but she was in the Amy Winehouse movie. She played Amy Winehouse. And she's in this film, and she's pretty terrific in this film as well. I think her and Tom Burke and their dynamic in the film are probably the most entertaining part of it. Pierce Brosnan's good for what he is. He doesn't have a huge role. It's a very supporting role. But it's kind of neat that he and Naomi Harris are both James Bond veterans, and they're both in this film together. So that, I'm a big James Bond fan too, as Tony well knows. So
Yes.
That's always cool to me. But this movie definitely is something that people should see. Steven Soderbergh, he just got done making that movie. That movie Presence, which I have not seen, just came out recently, and it had the same writer, David Koepp, who
he's a good writer. He's been writing.
Yeah, and he wrote this movie very well. Like I said, I haven't seen Presence yet. The guy who composed the music, David Holmes, I think he's done several Soderbergh movies, but Soderbergh has a style, and this doesn't really stray from that style. I wouldn't say it's quite on the level maybe of how good something like Out of Sight is. That's a great movie. But this is more of a simplistic film. It's a whodunit movie, but it's a very stylish whodunit movie.
Very cool.
And it's really awesome. And I think it is, at least. There's some things that, you always be like, I kind of wish they'd gone this direction or that direction. But and the second time you watch it, there are things you do catch that you didn't catch initially. They're like, oh, yeah, like kind of a little subtle hint of this and that. But the players, the characters themselves really play well off of each other. And they do a nice kind of throwback, pay homage to the Thin Man series from the 30s and 40s with William Powell and Myrna Loy, where you get all the suspects basically in a room towards the beginning, and you get them in a room at the end, and you kind of figure out, who did what, how they did it, and everything. So, and I've always been a Thin Man fan as well, so it's kind of cool they paid homage to that, the way Fassbender kind of set all this stuff up and basically put everyone on display for what they are, who they are. And then obviously the film came to its resolution, and it was a pretty decent. It's a very good film. I wouldn't say it's a great film, but it's a very good film. It's entertaining, and I definitely think people should watch it when it's. I don't know if it's streaming now yet.
That's where I was going to get to. It is currently streaming right now on Amazon, so you can check it out there. But very cool. You gave everything that I think would talk me into definitely seeing it. I am a Soderbergh fan. I was going to bring up Out of Sight. You brought it up. One of my favorite lines Clooney says to Steve Zahn in that movie, he says, "Take those sunglasses off your face before I throw you off the bridge with them still on." I love that line. But again, Soderbergh's great. Before you take off here, quick question. Tonight we are covering, and I know you like some Clint Eastwood. What would you say is your favorite Clint Eastwood performance?
My favorite Clint Eastwood performance. Well, you want to tell me his individual performance or my favorite Clint Eastwood film?
Well, give me your film.
Film, I mean, the best. I'm a big Man with No Name trilogy fan because I love spaghetti westerns. I think personally, I like For a Few Dollars More the best.
Mm-hmm.
I like him in that. But I mean, his best performance, that's hard to nail down. I mean, Unforgiven, he was fantastic, but at the same time, and we've talked about this before, it's hard to be on a screen with Gene Hackman and be any better than him too. So, but I think For a Few Dollars More is probably still my favorite.
Well, very awesome, my man. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing with us the amazing Black Bag. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on, and I really appreciate the awesome intro.
Oh,
I'm about to go watch some White Sox baseball out in Sacramento.
Oh, you going to Sacramento?
I'm not going to Sacramento. I'm going to watch them out.
No, I know. I was going to say in your bathtub. You could be in your bathtub with the song.
I'm not bulbing now. I like to crawl into bed after that.
There we go. Yes, relaxation. Thank you, my man.
Thanks,
I
Adam.
appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Jumper.
you.
Tony.
Bye.
All right, man. Really interesting background. Seems like Adam was really interested into classic films, which a lot of stuff from we don't usually talk about the stuff from the the older era, but like or the old Orson Welles films I'm really into as well. Citizen Kane. I took film class. That was like one of the biggest films that we had to watch. Of course, we're going to talk about Leone because we're talking about Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns, which I'm a huge fan of. That actually drew inspiration for Django, which we've had talked about, which is a film that Quentin Tarantino directed, and he loved the Man with No Name series, which is why he actually made that film. I'll go along with the 70s black action films that came out during then. But awesome conversation, man. I just sat back, listened to you guys go back and forth. I saw you guys get into your groove.
Well, that's what's cool. I mean, like that's when Cotton has come on. You could get just so much information from our guest and be like, wow, I mean, I've done all this talking all week at my job. I can now just chill and listen to a good movie conversation. Sometimes here in a little while, you might get going. I might get going. But yeah, and that's the main thing that's always been awesome about him is that all these movies that honestly, me and you, I mean, let's be honest, we're John Carpenter fans. These are horror movies, but we like all movies, you know what I mean? So like a guy like Adam comes along and he could talk about Orson Welles when me and you never even really has talked about Orson Welles yet, you know what I mean? So like brings more to the table. So it's like, that's what's cool about, that's why we love having these guests on.
Yeah, I would love to get Adam and Steve Niss on because Steve is kind of, film director and all that stuff. And he's really into classic films as well, along with, the wacky stuff we talk about. I would just like to pick their brains on like their insight and everything.
Oh, they would.
Yeah.
He would love it. So we'll definitely do it sometime.
Shout out to my wife who said Band of Brothers 2001 was based off her cousin.
So much that I forgot his lines too.
And medic, he was a medic there, and I'm like World War II, and she's like, "Oh, I just read that. It was something different. Sorry." So that's my wife.
That was good.
So great conversation on Black Bag. Be sure to check it out. I definitely will check it out. I'm a big Fassbender fan. But Tone, the story I wanted to get to in terms of entertainment was they just dropped a new Predator Badlands trailer, and I wanted to know, have you seen it?
Yes, I sure have.
What are your initial thoughts on that?
Honestly, looks really good. Blown away by Prey. I mean, I sat down on my couch on like a Saturday at like 1 p.m. and was like, let's see what this garbage is. And then I was like, wow, this isn't garbage at all. It was actually awesome. This looks like it's a different story in the Predator world, but again, I love the cinematography. It looks amazing. So I'm interested by what I see. How about you?
I am as well. I loved Prey. I actually think Prey is probably my second favorite Predator movie. I do like Predator 2, but I think I kind of edged it out a little bit because I just like the whole story behind it. But
as far as even quality, I know we love one, but as far as quality goes and story and how they filmed it, it could even, if no one had ever seen the first one and they saw Prey, you could maybe even make a case of Prey is a really, really good movie.
Yeah. And the thing I think that saves one for me is just nostalgia factor.
That's what it is. That's what I mean.
Yeah. But when I heard this movie was coming out, I first heard that it was maybe based in the samurai era. And I'm a big junkie for samurai films. So I was really excited about that. But seeing it, it seems that this is more on a desolate planet, I guess, or because there's creatures going all over. I know there have been complaints about the way the Predator looks. I think he looks fine. You have to update the character as they go. It can't be the same character, kind of look all the time. And if we're in a different time period, then it's going to look different. We evolve. I mean, just like humans evolve. We don't look the same as we did as Neanderthals. So, but I'm looking actually really forward to it. I really want to go see this in theater. Prey was released on Hulu, and this one I guess is going to be released in theater. So I hope that this is a good film. 1 and 2 makes a lot of money, so they can have another one come out.
I'm just laughing over because I really, if you could have met my father, he would go on these rants because at the end of Predator 2 on the ship, there were all those different skulls and stuff. And he would just go on these rants about like what the worlds would look like and what these things. And now that's why I see this Predator and I can imagine that exactly that. And I'm usually somebody who can critique it and be like, that looks stupid. What's this? But remembering the Predator lore, there's just been so many different kinds of Predators. I mean, in The Predator, I think it was, there's like one that's like 8 feet tall. I mean, there's always been different kinds of Predators. So it's like, enjoy the ride and let's see what it's going to be about.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited to see what's going to be about. I really want it to be good. Like I can't emphasize that enough because Prey was so good, but Prey had the luxury of being released on a streaming service, which is both a blessing and a curse. Because blessing is if it wasn't great and it was released on a streaming service, they can still release a new one and maybe a better version of something. Because even though it costs money, it was still released to a streaming service. The curse is it was great and wasn't released in theaters, so they didn't really make a lot of money off it. Now they're trying to capitalize on that in the theater. But I really, really like the trailer for this. I know we have to. I always say we have to go see films, but this one we definitely have to go see because
In the IMAX or something, because this
Yeah.
is one that's going to be really good.
we're both huge fans of Predator, so everything looks good for now. I haven't been pumped about a movie for a while now since
November's right around the corner.
Yeah, since probably Long Legs.
That
And
was awesome.
this one I am really, really looking forward to. But with that tone, let's get into our main event for tonight, my friend. Let's start with our Clint Eastwood films. And before we explain why we actually decided to do this, because it's going to coincide with my first film pick. Clint Eastwood's been around forever, man. He's over 90 years old. I would say probably an icon of the film industry. Would you agree?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, the man's known for westerns. I always associate Clint Eastwood with westerns. I know that's where he cut his teeth. He was Rowdy Yates and Rawhide, which coincides with a Chicago movie, The Blues Brothers. They play the Rawhide song. But you know, he did the Sergio Leone films. He did his own films in westerns, and then of course he did the series as I talked about. Him as an actor has always had a special bond with me because my abuelito on my dad's side, who I was very close to, was a huge Western fan. So we always watched Western films when I was a young kid before he passed. And that includes Gunsmoke, The Rifleman, Rawhide. We watched all that. Bonanza. And any Western film that came on TV, we watched, whether it be good or bad. So it always cracks me up when I hear the Sopranos talk about Gary Cooper, the strong silent
type.
Yeah, because he was in the Western films, and Clint Eastwood when I see him. So I always have a fond, loving of Clint Eastwood's work, and he's an awesome director as well.
Mhm.
What was the first film you saw from Clint Eastwood?
Oh man, that's a real tough one. I mean, it's got to be something in the Western variety that I walked in on that my father was watching. It had to be Dirty Harry, maybe something along those lines. I mean, but like I also remember like renting my parents renting Unforgiven when it came out and seeing that. So like I'll just go with Unforgiven because that's the first one I actually mentally remember. So like
Nice. So my first film was actually Fistful of Dollars. That's the first one I saw. It happened to be on, I believe it was on WCIU at the time. Don't quote me on that, but I remember I was sitting down and he was in the middle of it, and he's like, "Mijo, come sit here and watch this with me." And we're watching it, and I was just like, "This is old." And that thing, as a kid, I was like, "Man, I'm not really into westerns," but I'll just sit here with my grandfather, and that kind of got me into. That was what we did when I come home from school. We watched westerns. But yeah, that was the first film I saw Leone, and now as we're older, we've grown to appreciate those films because those are all like masterpieces of Western cinema in
Mhm.
terms of Western genre. Uh, so, like I said, whenever I think of Eastwood, I always have that fondness of him because it makes me think about my grandfather, who I was very close with, uh, and I think that's why I enjoy his films so much.
Very cool.
So, with that, my friend, do you want to get into our first movie?
Let's do it.
Sure thing. Okay, let's get into our first one here.
Didn't hear what the bet was. Your life.
This film inspired us to have our podcast on Clint Eastwood because For a Few Dollars More was released in 1965, and it will be celebrating its 60th year since its released this year in 2025. Clint Eastwood plays the man with no name, but although he is referred to as Monko. And this film is number 133 in the IMDb movie base. So in the Internet Movie Base of database of IMDb, this film was number 133 on there. It was directed by Sergio Leone, who also directed Fistful of Dollars, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Once Upon a Time in the West, and Once Upon a Time in America. It stars Leo Van Cleef, Gia Maria Valenti, Klaus Klinsky, and Luigi Pistelli. It had a budget of $600,000 and a box office of $15 million, which is a ridiculous box office to budget ratio. So they made a lot of money on this one. So this is my favorite of the series. I know the other films get a little bit more praise, but this one I like a lot because I always liked the character that Lee Van Cleef plays as the bounty hunter. I always thought he was really, really badass. And it was really cool to see the man with no name and another bounty hunter go up against these bandits to trying to hunt and save the town from. Clint Eastwood is this, he's silky smooth, man. His delivery, he's just awesome in terms of like his aura. He doesn't need to speak, his mannerisms. He's just a cool dude in that, era of the 60s when they're filming this. And I don't know if he would be um the perfect ideal cowboy or bandito, and due to in the real old west, but he sure inspired Marty McFly to act like him. So Adam says here Gary Cooper was in High Noon with Lee Van Cleef, who was also in two Clint Eastwood movies. Yep. So I really, really like this. So this is my favorite of the series. Like I said, Sergio Leone is awesome in terms of just having his scenery, his cinematography. Of course, the series has their soundtrack, which is awesome. That one of the probably more famous songs. We'll be in another film that we'll be discussing later. But I always thought these films were connected in ways, but Leone came out and said that this film was actually not a continuation of A Fistful of Dollars. It was a different film. And I guess that was due to a lawsuit that had happened, which I couldn't get any more detail on what the lawsuit was inherently about. But this is one of my favorite Eastwood films of all time. What do you think about For a Few Dollars More?
Oh, great movie. I mean, you brought up Lee Van Cleef, which just as you stated, awesome. He's got that look that you want in a Western. That's the one thing that I would talk about a lot. Like with my dad was like, a lot of these guys in these Westerns have to have a peculiar look. I mean, you can't just be like, just like a clean cut guy. You have to have like, and Lee Van Cleef plays that to a very, very good effect. Being a music fan, I mean, the music is great in these movies. Some of the best, you know what I mean? If you could find some of them on vinyl, definitely pick it up.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they would be worth something too. It just like it goes so well with the films. Also, even the shooting of the guns, like the revolvers, like it always cracked me up. I just saw today when I was getting sound for the film. It's the 4K renditions of the film. It looks like AI, to be honest with you, how clear it is.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like, and I remember watching it, like I said, on public television, because back then, cable wasn't. This is like 1990 when I first saw this film. So cable, I don't even think cable was a thing yet. But I remember watching it like on like regular TV, because there's only a few channels, and going from there to seeing it, on my computer at 4K. I was like, holy smokes! Now I have to get that version of it on Blu-ray. So sorry, Jen, I'll probably be buying Blu-rays. But yeah, I love this film. It's the first. This is the second film I was introduced to in terms of the Man with No Name series, in terms of Clint Eastwood. Of course, I did the first film, Fistful of Dollars, but this has always been my favorite film, just for the introduction of Van Cleef. So if you haven't seen it, please check it out. I mean, the movie is 60 years old, and we are lucky to still have Eastwood still making films, directing films, and he started a film that was 60 years old, man. It's just, it blows my mind that he's done it.
Well, even doing some further research, it's crazy that he sought out Henry Fonda first as Colonel Mortimer, and Charles Bronson, because both of them end up being in, Once Upon a Time in the West, which is one of my favorite Sergio Leone westerns. But it's crazy that you can turn down such a classic role. But I guess when you turn down roles, it goes to somebody awesome like Lee Van Cleef. So we wouldn't have got Van Cleef's performance if they didn't turn it down.
Yeah, and Ennio Morricone is his name, that did the composing for the Man with No Name films. So the iconic soundtrack of The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, that's all him. I sometimes listen to that just on when I drive, because I love it. Just a great composed.
Well, we'll get to it when we talk about the next movie. I'll bring it up. It's on the one where we got the next Leone film.
Okay. But let's go into your film, my friend.
How do you like your steak?
Extremely rare.
That scene always cracked me up when he's like, "How you like your steak? Extremely rare." Play Misty for Me was released in 1971. He plays the role of Dave. This film was actually directed by Clint Eastwood, which is his directorial debut. The other films he has directed is The Outlaw Josie Wales, Son of Impact, Pale Rider, Mystic River, Absolute Power, Sully, Richard Jewell, and Gran Torino, just to name a couple films. This film also stars Jessica Walter, Donna Mills, John Large, Jack Ging, and Irene Hervey. This film was making big bucks at the time of $10 million on a $725,000 budget. So it made pretty good dough compared to its budget. Tone, tell me why you picked this one, man.
We'll get started with that. If you don't remember, in the malls a long time ago, there used to be a place called Suncoast Video. And they used to have, every year they'd come out with like a catalog you could buy, and inside the catalog, all it literally was the picture boxes of the movies. And like one year it was like in a discount bin, and my mom's like, it was like $2, and my mom's like, would you like this? I'm like, sure. This thing became like my Bible for like 12 years, because I would just be looking at the boxes of the movies. And I always remember just seeing Play Misty for Me, and in my head going, what is this? Play Misty for Me? And then I watched it, and I'm a huge fan of Fatal Attraction. This is like where Fatal Attraction comes from for me. And also, you're absolutely right bringing up about, Clint and the Westerns, and that being some of his main bread and butter. But it's also cool that through this time of him doing the Westerns, he's putting out these other little movies that are completely different to the Western, but also in their own little mini genres too. And this is what one of them is. And I think his character, I like the way he responds to her. Because it starts with like, oh yeah, this could be great. And then it's like, will you leave me alone? It's just like but like, me loving music. It's also awesome that he's a radio DJ in the movie, and he plays, the soundtrack is a really great jazz soundtrack. Clint is a huge jazz aficionado. all the way through your very favorite movie, Trouble with the Curve. He has incorporated something with jazz in a lot of his movies. We're gonna get to it in a little while with another movie, but again, Clint's directing, which after it was all done, I could have picked just one where he wasn't even in it and he was just the director, because Clint's the man in so many different ways, and this kind of shows a little bit more. I love his hair in this movie too. I mean, it's just so cool. Clint is just cool, man.
Yeah, this film stood out to me because, of course, he was playing the macho roles in the Man with No Name series. He goes on to do his directorial debut, and it's kind of a femme fatale film of a person obsessed with a radio DJ, which I always thought was crazy. And I kind of can't help myself but think, did Carpenter pull some like stuff for the DJ stuff for The Fog later? Had he seen this film? We'll never know. I mean, unless he mentions it, he's really pretty open. But I do think this was like a masterful debut for him. It's totally something different, and shout out to him trying something different, getting out of that mold, and just shows his love for filmmaking. Even though Steve McQueen was offered the lead role and turned it down, he was he said that the female character was a stronger part. But Eastwood directing it and starring in it, which is something that was not known to be a regular thing at the time, I think he pulled it off really, really well.
Yeah, does a good job again, because this is, you're talking about a time period where this movie isn't really a movie like this isn't being made too much. You know what I mean? It's not as it's not common to make a movie about a stalking girl, in 1971. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a common theme in movies. So for him to also take a chance like that too, me and Katie always joke, because one of my favorite things is just the way when she calls into the radio station and she's like, "Do me a favor and play Misty for me." And then, like, he hears it or whatever, he's like, and then at the end or whatever, after she's like, spoiler alert, she's offed, and it, like, because he's got like the tape playing at the radio station, and it's like her calling in again, and she's like, "Do me a favor and play Misty for me." Just always a great movie, excellent movie.
Yeah, it's that part always cracks me up. Just that little, line.
I know.
I did find it interesting that his mentor actually appears in this film. For those who don't know, Don Siegel is actually Clint Eastwood's mentor, and he's actually Murph, the bartender. Eastwood jokingly forced him into 11 takes before finally yelling, "Roll camera." So messing with his mentor, but they will collaborate on a film that we'll talk about later. But it's kind of cool that you got your mentor in your directorial debut. But then again, he was so big, with the film, when this Hollywood at the time anyway, that he could pretty much do what he wanted.
Yeah, that's true.
But if you're looking for a film that, is a stalker film with a femme fatale that has a cool soundtrack, like really interesting and directorial debut of Clint Eastwood, I definitely check this one out if you haven't.
Yeah, and definitely if you're going to a Western, it's cool to go Clint Eastwood Western, non-Western, Western, non-Western, because you can have a lot of fun with this catalog.
Yeah, a little side note, so my wife asked Adam, had he seen a film by Kirk? So I was like, what is that? Do you know what that is? A film by Kirk?
I tried to look it up and I couldn't find a movie called By Kirk, so I didn't know really what this.
It's a Gilmore Girls reference.
Oh, okay.
That's why she said it. I guess it's a musical, that a short film that Kirk did in the Gilmore Girls.
Oh, gotcha.
So she's trying to be funny, which I thought was like, but I didn't even know what the hell that was until I looked it up. Of course, my wife is a huge fan of the Gilmore Girls, as is Brandy, Brian's wife. So
all I know about the Gilmore Girls is that the amazing Edward Herman from Lost Boys is in it. I supposedly somebody has told Brian every time I bring up Lost Boys' dad, he goes, "She's also in Gilmore Girls."
Yeah. So my wife and her mother love Gilmore Girls. And I told my mother-in-law, I'm like, yeah, Max from Lost Boys is in there. She's like, who? I'm like, the
Who?
grandfather. She's like, oh, yeah. So every time I see him, I laugh because I think he's a vampire in Gilmore Girls.
Could be.
But let's move on to our next film, my friend.
You see, in this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns, and those who dig. You dig. Where?
"1967's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly." He plays the role of the man with no name, this time referenced as Blondie. The film is number 10 IMDb's top-rated films, so it's in there, man. Directed by Sergio Leone, it stars, along with Clint Eastwood, Eli Wallach, Lee Van Cleef, Luigi Pistelli, and Randa Rasimov. The movie had a budget of $1 million and made $25 million at the box office. Now, I know people are going to say, well, why'd you like a few dollars more over The Good, the Bad, the Ugly? I saw the films in sequence, and the second one was my favorite. Now, knowing that was the reason was because of Lee Van Cleef. He was a bounty hunter. And this film, he's a bad guy, but I think he gets kind of outshined by Tuco, who's played by Eli Wallach. I I like this film a lot too. I mean, Marconi's soundtrack, his score in this film is just legendary. It's been sampled in so many bands, such as off the top of my head, Gorillaz, whose bass song is Clint Eastwood. It's based off that. It's been in rap songs. It's been in commercials. It's been everywhere. Also have the Marconi's Gold, which is another track from the album that is phenomenal. I like this film. The only thing that kind of drew me off from it was this one was over 3 hours long, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. But as a 5-year-old watching it, it was a rather long film for me. I did watch them again. I do love the Man with No Name series. I actually have them on Blu-ray. Well, DVD. I have to get them on Blu-ray to get the 4K stuff. But the best part about this film, I think, is actually the first 10 and a half minutes of it, because there's no dialogue. It's just cinematic looking, people walking. You're seeing their expressions, just showing how great of a director Leone was. And Leone only, I believe, did 9 films. He wrote others, but he was a true artist in the way he did things. And it just amazes me that he did such a great job for a Western, genre of films, being from Italy, which is why it's called spaghetti westerns. But it's just, I really, really love this film, and it finishes in second in the series for me. But tell enough of me rambling on, my friend. Tell me what you think about The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
All right, here's a little side note, hilarious trolling that I'm just gonna be funny here for a second. I could never get into this movie because Eli Wallach is playing a Mexican American, but he is a Polish Jewish man, and I wanted to know why Ricardo Montalban, he could have played this role. No, I'm just kidding. I love the movie. Eli Wallach steals the show. I was just doing my Scarface, like trying to pretend like I didn't like the movie because of his character. When you see his character is so great in the movie, right? Just like
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
You said yeah after. No, I'm just kidding. I set you up there. Great. The way you explained it was amazing. Lee Van Cleef does get outshined by Tuco. I mean, his character is definitely the one everybody talks about, even sometimes more than Clint. It is long. I remember I went and bought all 3 DVDs like at the same time, and I look back at that and I think that was too much for me, because it was like, I'm gonna sit and watch all of these, and then I ended up watching like 7 hours in a row, and then it was like, which one did I like the most? And then I always watched this one the most, but after doing research for the show, I went and rewatched for a few dollars more, and I would agree with you. I think that one is more put together, a little bit more tighter than this one, but still a great movie. My musical trivia question I was going to ask you earlier is: do you know a band walks out to the theme every single concert?
No.
Metallica.
Oh, nice.
So that Ecstasy of Gold, I forgot what the name of the song is called, like the main one in the movie or whatever, which is really, really cool. But great movie. Sergio Leone is a great director. Sometimes I wish he would have did more work we could talk about.
Yeah. Leone actually had an opportunity to do The Godfather. Passed on it because he wanted to do his own version. Yeah. He wanted to do his own version, which turned out to be the
Sicilian? No,
he did Once Upon a Time in America, which is his own version of The Godfather. Which some will say, I mean, you have some hardcore Once Upon a Time in America fans that would say it's better than The Godfather. I don't think so. I think it's a very good film, though. It does have some very, very good performances in there. But back to this film, the main title is The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, tone that you're thinking about in terms of the songs. The Ecstasy of Gold is it starts off with a piano.
That's the one they come out. Yeah.
So the Good, the Bad, the Ugly is the ones that is the one that's the gorilla sample. That's
yeah.
Ecstasy of Gold is really, really good. But when I was doing research for this tone, I didn't know that Clint Eastwood was a non-smoker and he gagged through cigar takes, warning Leone, "You better get this this time, or I'm gonna puke," which is pretty crazy. And as we go forward in the series of the spaghetti westerns, Eastwood's kind of character's time kind of shrinks, and he has less time than Tuco in this film. And he even jokes about it, saying that he's gonna have to make a whole cavalry of himself because his role just keeps shrinking. But for Tuco, we talk about Eli Wallach being so great in it. Charles Bronson was actually offered Tuco and Angel Eyes, and he was tied up filming something elsewhere and had to pass. You think Charles Bronson would have done a good job?
And trust me, there's some good Charles Bronson performances, but no, he couldn't have done as good as Eli. Eli does a great job. Eli's had a hell of a career too. It's crazy when you really was in his 90s still putting out movies.
Yeah, and even though these actors all appear in all $3 films, which is Eastwood, Van Cleef, Wallach, Brega, Serafini, Sambrell, and Rob Leto, Van Cleef's role becomes more prominent in the second film and third films, as well as Wallach's film becomes more prominent in this film. Everybody loves this one. I just think that the second one is just, in my eyes, better. But I can see why everybody likes it. It's considered the creme de la creme when it comes to westerns, and probably the crown jewel of Leone's legacy in terms of his films he directed.
I will always say that it has the better of the names. The name is just killer. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Like when it came out, like for a few dollars more is cool, but the good, the bad, the ugly, and just the way, but they're all great, man. They're all great in their own way.
Yeah, and it's amazing that this film made, 25 times the budget when Orson Welles, who we talked about earlier, told Leone that Civil War westerns were box office poison. It's just crazy. Like, these films were just masterpieces, and they're still good to watch now. They're just long, but I can appreciate them even more. I do watch them from periodically, when I want to reminisce. But
this is gonna be good when we're in our golden years and we get to just sit on a chair and watch movies. And
I would love to watch this film with my son when he gets old enough.
Oh,
yeah, see what he thinks. But he's not ready for this. But yeah, creme de la creme. When we
Can
talk
you
about
imagine his
westerns.
mind watching Minecraft and then taking him home and watching this? He'd be like asleep and probably
Yeah, he'd be like,
5
it's boring. He told me
Yeah,
turn it off. It's
that's
boring.
what it is.
But yeah, but if you haven't seen the spaghetti westerns, definitely check them out. Tone, let's get into your next film, my friend.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry about that too, Ma. He won't do it again, I promise you.
What are you gonna do about it?
What, the crap or the Oreos?
About Clyde? God damn it, I don't have no privacy in my own home no more.
Well, I confronted him about it, Mom, and I guarantee it won't happen again.
Privacy in your own home? A whole goddamn bag of Oreos. Oh, stop that, you goddamn baboon. No respect, no privacy, no nothing.
The 1978 film, Every Which Way But Loose. I gotta have to, before I get into the stats of this, tell when I saw this, I started laughing because this is totally a Tony Burt film. I was like, man, I saw that, I started laughing. He plays the role of Philo Badeau, I think his last name is Badeau. It's directed by James Fargo, who did The Enforcer, Private Lessons, Voyage of the Rock Aliens, and Born to Ride, which is a crazy set of films there. It also stars Sandra Locke, Jeffrey Lewis, Beverly D'Angelo, and Walter Barnes, and a box office of $85 million on a $5 million budget. So, Tone, for those who don't know, give a little bit of synopsis of this film.
Again, I said before, like the juxtaposition to the westerns. Now, I mean, Clint can play some comedy, and he lines it up really well in this. And honestly, the sequel is equally as great as this one is. They're both Any Which Way, Every Which Way But Loose, and Any Which Way You Can. Is both just a good time. But again, Clint is pretty much a beer drinking, just fist. What he is he likes to get in fist fights, and he wins money, like for money. And his best friend is an orangutan, which just honestly steals the whole entire show. But also stealing the show in really great performances are like Sandra Locke. You have Jeffrey Lewis. The comedy is just really it's on fire. I mean, even just right there in your what you played, you can just hear exactly what they were trying to go for. But you don't Ruth Gordon as Ma pretty much steals the show, I think, besides the monkey and Clint. She's hilarious in this. Really good job from Harold and Maude. She is also great in Rosemary's Baby. But in here she plays it's just a really good time. I can't say enough about this movie because generally, even if you're looking online, just this picture, if it doesn't tell you that you're gonna have a good time, where it's like, because like Clint will go out to the bars and bring Clyde with him, and they're both just sitting at the bars and he's eating peanuts. Clyde will even drink the beer. Just a really, really, really just a great movie, man.
So this film cracks me up because it kind of like spawned like the films with the animal sidekick, like Smokey and the Bandit. Then you got like Turner Hooch, K9 with your boy James Belushi.
Oh yeah.
It always cracks me up because, and it's just Clint acting with an orangutan. That's the part. Like, you have this badass guy and his best friend is an orangutan. He gets into bar fights, but Clyde the orangutan is his best friend. It's totally out there, man. I've seen this film like a couple times, and every time I watch it, I'm like, it's just so funny. It makes me laugh.
It's hilarious because it's also the very first film ever to gross over $10 million in its opening weekend. So you say to yourself, people were excited to see Clint and an orangutan.
Yeah. The funny thing is, well, the cool thing about this film was his boxing coach was Al Silvani, famed for training Jake LaMotta of Raging Bull fame. Well, not of Raging Bull, but fame. He was a boxer before the film, but he got famous because of Raging Bull and his boxing career. But he was known for prepping Sylvester Stallone for Rocky.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I was just thinking of the coincidence in all of this in these movies is that you have Jeffrey Lewis playing, the boyfriend to Beverly D'Angelo, who then goes later in Christmas Vacation and plays, Juliette Lewis, Jeffrey Lewis's daughter in real life, mother. So it's like maybe there's a connection in the universe of Any Which Way But Loose and Christmas Vacation. Jeffrey Lewis is for that, just that daughter there, not the one from European Vacation, not the one like maybe there's like a mixed universe where the children were from different parents and different. I'm really going deep on this.
Well, you did say we do go deep like John Holmes.
That is true.
That was your comment.
That was my comment. That is true.
But Beverly D'Angelo was also in one of the best baseball movies, Summer Catch.
Oh yes, great movie.
You want to know something funny, man? Like when I first saw that film and they made her as like the the reveal, I didn't know who that was because I was like, wait, who is this? And then I'm like, oh, that's the mom from the Christmas Vacation. So it was like, oh.
Who does? Here we go. We're going to wrap it all around here. Who does Beverly D'Angelo have a set of twins with? Children.
Mr. Pacino.
His birthday boy today. What a coincidence.
Yeah, it's all goes full circle, guys.
This is actually a Pacino birthday celebration.
You might not know where the hell we're going, but you will when we get there. No, but back to this film, man. It's ridiculous. I enjoyed it. Just like a couple of tidbits here. Smaller towns across the U.S. proved to be this film's strongest markets. If I wonder why, because the premise is ridiculous. But it's funny to see Clint out of his element again, doing more comedic stuff here. And I really enjoyed it. If you haven't seen this one, definitely check it out. Once you saw it, you put it in the chat with the text to me, I started laughing right away because I'm like, this is totally a Tony movie.
And honestly, as much as his westerns or his other action movies, the bare knuckle boxing scenes are actually filmed really, really great. Like the fists are literally coming like right at the camera and stuff. It's a good fun time. Check it out.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, when I watched it in the past few years, I kind of got like it's kind of, even though it's got like a silly premise, it's got better action in it, like than Over the Top.
Yeah.
Which is a crazy, ridiculously premised film, but it kind of gives me those vibes. Well, Over the Top gives the vibes of this film because this film was before it, but it's like a better version of Over the Top with a ridiculous storyline.
In 78 that they were actually even able to get this orangutan to do as well as it did. I mean, and I'm not trying to bring up, a negative from another movie, but like supposedly like Milo and Otis, they kill a lot of animals perished.
Oh my God. Yeah. Milo and Otis.
But like in this movie, it was like, all right. And they brought him back for the sequel. Like he didn't even just make it through this one. He made it through the next one too. I mean, just a good fun time. Good fun time.
What about, Congo, man, with Amy?
Amy, good gorilla.
Yeah. Amy, go. Amy, go. Amy, want flower drink. Purple flower drink.
Tell my buddy to listen in. He'd always say this line. He's like, the hieroglyphics on the wall. What do they say? They say, we are watching you. That's what Tim Curry says in the movie. Like the stupidest line.
Why are you eating my sesame cake? I love that film. It always makes me remind me of my coworker Ricardo, who I worked with. He loved that film, and he always talked about it. And when it came on, he always texts me, "Hey, Congo's on."
That's great.
But yeah, Bruce Campbell's in that film too, which is good. Shout out to him. Man, we're all over the place today. But let's move on to our next film, my man.
You're lucky I'm not indicting you for assault with intent to commit murder. What? Where the hell does it say you've got a right to kick down doors, torture suspects, deny medical attention and legal counsel? Where have you been? Does Escobedo ring a bell? Miranda? I mean, you must have heard of the Fourth Amendment. What I'm saying is that man had rights.
Well, I'm all broken up about that man's rights.
1971's Dirty Harry, and he plays the role of Harry Callahan, directed by Don Siegel and Clint Eastwood. Siegel, of course, was a mentor of Clint Eastwood. He did films like Escape from Alcatraz, Invasion of the Body Snatchers the original was his film, and Coogan's Bluff, Stranger on the Run, and The Shootist are just some of the films he directed. This film also stars Andrew Robinson, Henry Gardino, Rennie Santoni, Joan Vernon, and John Larch. The film had a budget of $4 million and made $35 million at the box office. This film, I think, is probably most famous for "Do You Feel Lucky? Well, do you, punk?" as the line, which is actually credited to somebody who was a scriptwriter that's uncredited for the film. But it sparked a series of Dirty Harry films that are not always named Dirty Harry. I always associate this film with the Nintendo game, The War on Drugs, which is based off the one with the toy. I think Dirty Harry 4, the one where he has the toy maker. I can't remember which one that is.
The one with the
remote control cars.
That was the fifth one, the Deadpool.
Deadpool. Yeah, so it's based off that, but it does have Clint Eastwood in the film. I love Rennie Santoni in this film. This film has a lot of stuff too that can't be said today in the in terms of dialogue, especially when he first meets Rennie Santoni. Tone.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. And they say it with such because I was looking for quotes. I totally forgot that quote was in there. I'm like, wow. But those who don't know who Rennie Santoni is,
but
he's
hold
actually,
on, but they kind of in the movie though. Do you think this is a fair thing that they say where he's like the captain or whatever is like, man, he's a real. I think they say like he's a racist. He doesn't
they call him Dirty Harry because he hates all these races.
Or no, he says Harry doesn't like anybody. Like,
yeah,
that's
basically,
yeah. Like it doesn't really matter who you are. He doesn't like you, which pretty much like even in that scene there with the cops, he's talking shit to them. He's just talking shit to everybody, which doesn't make it right. But he's just a big shit talker, which is what makes him dirty.
Yeah, Harry gives no fucks. He's a grizzled veteran, and he inspired McCarnacle on The Simpsons. We haven't seen that. McCarnacle. But Rena Santoni is a character actor that, you've seen him in films. You probably don't know like his name, but he's in one of our favorite films, Cobra.
I was just actually about to bring that up because
yeah.
Go on.
Get me some gummy bears. He's also in Bad Boys. He's the counselor at the juvenile center. That works with Sean Penn. He gets punched. Remember when Isai Morales and him fight? He punches him and knocks him out, so they can have the final battle at the end. But this film actually has a really, really good plot in terms of trying to catch a serial killer who's called the Scorpio Killer, who was based on the Zodiac Killer. And Henry Callahan's character actually drew on real life San Francisco detective David Toshi, who actually was trying to catch the Zodiac Killer, which is kind of cool. There was novelizations of this film, of not just film, but of the series. It released, I believe, 5 films that all have different names. They're all very, very good. I just happen to like the first one because this one got me into the Dirty Harry series. Classic crime film with a badass cop, and I think Eastwood does a great job in it. I always crack up that he was eating a burger while a bank robbery was going on. and he just happens to walk over and point the gun at the guy to say, "Do you feel lucky?"
Again, I'm probably one of my favorite characters of his.
Yeah.
Second movie is, I like the second movie just as much as I like the first one, Magnum Force.
Yeah, that's the one with the gang, right?
Yeah, the cops, or like the motorcycle cops or whatever are because what's hilarious is one of the two of them. One of them is Starsky from Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah, Starsky and Hutch.
And the other one is like the head of the Animal House fraternity, Tim Matheson, from Van Wilder too. But it's the third one, Enforcer, Sudden Impact. But Deadpool, this is where I was gonna pick this one, but then we already had Dirty Harry. Do you here's 3 things about Deadpool. Do you know who the bad guy is in Deadpool off the top of your head?
No, I don't.
Liam Neeson.
Oh, yeah.
Also in the Deadpool, and this is what I remember as a kid before he was in anything that we know. Jim Carrey plays a really great role in the movie. He plays like, because Guns N' Roses is in the movie, and like Jim Carrey is like
Johnny Squares.
Yeah, his character is in the Guns N' Roses band, but always thought that was cool too. But Clint in all these movies is just, as you stated, man, he's dirty. And when he takes out that pistol, man, you just better not be around.
Yeah, and he has such a dry sense of humor.
Mm.
And you can see that in the Westerns. You can see that in this film. He plays a dick cop. Like, well, he's a detective, but, you know, he's just a dick. But he has that dry sense of humor that cracks you up, like, when he says stuff, especially his interactions with his partner in this film. I wish they would have brought back Santoni for his partner, but I guess they were trying to like have him go like to different partners as he went. But yeah, their chemistry is really, really good. I really, really enjoyed it.
Just a good movie.
Definitely, like it's a great film, man. It's been parodied so many times. I mean, just that one line, you know, of do you feel lucky? It's like, I guess there's always been like a mystique over it, or do I feel lucky? You know, you got to ask yourself a question: do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk? It's always been that mystique. Like, is it do you feel lucky or do I feel lucky? I know people have argued about that. I mean, the damn WWE did a parody of it with the Undertaker when they went WrestleMania with Hollywood. You remember that?
Yes, I did.
And I was like, wow. It's just ridiculous. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Robert Urlacher credit Harry Callahan as a character, as a career inspiration. Their tough guy, wisecracking roles trace back to Dirty Harry. So Arnold Schwarzenegger and Robert Urich would say that about Dirty Harry. Dirty Harry has been considered one of the best badass characters of films. In 2009, an MTV poll actually said that. It is the first of 6 Eastwood films shot in his hometown of San Francisco, and it was banned in Finland for over a year due to violence. Harry fires only 21 shots in the entire film, 22 if you count his mock empty aim. I didn't realize that. Like, there's like a lot of little good stuff here.
That's awesome.
That I'll have in the notes so you guys can read them if you want to go through them. But yeah, Dirty Harry, man. When you think of Clint Eastwood, you either think of Western or you think of this one. And, you know, they're kind of two and two of the same coin. But Tone, let's go into your film because I actually love this one too.
Nothing personal.
I hope you won't take it personal when we tell you to get the hell out of Carbon Canyon now.
Well, there's a lot of sinners hereabouts. You wouldn't want me to leave before I finish my work, would you?
1985's Pale Rider. He plays the role of Preacher. The film was directed by Clint Eastwood. It also stars Michael Moratney, Carrie Songris, Sidney Penny, Chris Penn, Richard Dysart, and Richard Keel. It had a box office of 41 million on a budget of 6.9 million. Tone, tell me why you picked this one, my friend.
Well, I think it had to be, I was in I was home on a break in college, and I think I walked in and my dad was watching it, and I just saw Chris Penn, and I went, Chris Penn, and I laughed like this, and he was like, "Yeah, he's in this Western." I was like, "He's in a Clint Eastwood movie?" This is like when I'm still like, learning about movies. And I sat down and actually watched this movie multiple times, and I just find this movie to be super awesome. I like Clint Eastwood's character a lot. I like the idea of just this guy coming into town. You don't really know much about him. Um, I like the way he just pretty much all the women fawn over him right away, and then of course like Michael Moriarty's like, but he's there as a good person. You know what I mean? Like he's not there to like ruin anybody's lives. He's actually there to, as you find out, help them, and really badass gang that he's fighting in that movie. It's just the way those guys show up, and the way it just that they have a past, him and that head guy that is they're gonna battle, but you don't know what it is. There's a lot of unsaid things in some of these Clint Eastwood movies, like that there are things that have happened, but you just don't know what it is. But you can imagine that, like the character of the preacher has just been around a long time and has seen a lot of things, and that's kind of like characters aren't really like that anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to have a huge backstory on the preacher to know what the preacher is about in this movie.
Yeah, it's so this film has a lot of similarities with Josie Wales, The Outlaw Josie Wales, which is another great Eastwood film. More in particular, like specifically the opening scene with the family massacre. It's kind of similar to Josie Wales' family getting killed. Uh, but there's a lot of stuff in this film that, you know, that I find very interesting. I was just going to use one of these quotes, but it's only a very small line in the film, but it has a lot of meaning because they say, kids reading the Bible, and he goes, "And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat upon him was Death, and hell followed with him." And that's a line from the book of Revelation in the Bible, which is basically the bringing of the four horsemen. And it's implied in the script that preacher Clint Eastwood's character is a ghost. Upon meeting him, Marshall Stockburn whispers that man is dead, and later the preacher bears the same bullet hole pattern that Stockburn suffered. So, I mean, is this a paranormal film, Western? I don't know.
Well, I mean,
But
off the top of my head, I mean, what kind of Westerns are we working with in the 80s here? You know what I mean? Like this is like it. And when you put it like that, I want to rewatch it tonight. Like, because like when you could look at it, because the movie gives, whereas like you're right, but there's something to the movie that maybe gives it what you're saying. There's something, it's a Western, but there's something more going on underneath the surface, like a paranormal, or he isn't really like, you know what I mean? He's just there and then he's gone. It's very interesting stuff.
yeah, and it gives you those man with no name feelings. His name's Preacher in this film. Also it has, Jaws in this film.
Oh, he's great in this movie.
Which, he's I know he's Jaws from James Bond, but I always remember him from Happy Gilmore.
Happy
Mr.
Gilmore.
Mr.
Oh,
Gilmore.
you
In the
in the parking lot.
Yeah, but just the, pale horse reference. I mean, it's such a cool line to the point where, Behold a Pale Horse has become really big in conspiracy theories. I don't know if you know about this, Tone. By Milton William Cooper. Have you ever heard of this book?
No.
So not to get like too like deep dive into conspiracy theory stuff, but Milton William Cooper wrote a book called Behold the Pale Horse, which has a bunch of conspiracy theories in it that have a lot to do with like American, government and other stuff, which some of it is kind of interesting, especially in the times we're living in, the stuff he talks about. But he uses that line, "Behold the pale horse." So it has that significant meaning of that, phrase from the Bible is used to show that bad things are coming. But in this case, actually, the preacher, even though he's talked about with that name, is actually the savior of this area, which I thought was pretty great. Um, One other cool thing about this is the first Western that Clint Eastwood had acted in since The Outlaw Josie Wales, which was released in '76, so about 9 years before, and it's his last until we get to another film, that we will talk about. But, you know, this film is really interesting. I really enjoyed it. Like, the more and more I realize when we go through these Clint Eastwood films, I can't really find a really, really bad Clint even Trouble with the Curve, I don't think is a horrible film.
Oh,
A lot of his films are like, you can watch them, even The Bridges Over Madison County.
true.
Like, and a funny story about that is if you watch the George Lopez show, he's talking about giving his kidney to his father, and while he's in recovery, he's gonna watch a bunch of Clint Eastwood films, and they're going through all films of Clint Eastwood, and he talks about The Bridges Over Madison County, and his daughter goes, "You know it's a love story, don't you?" And he goes, "I don't care if it's a love story. All I care about is was with Clint, and he blows up the bridges," which always cracked me up. But like his films are really enjoyable.
Well, I mean, you want a movie where he's a pilot? Watch Firefox. You want a movie where he's a spy? Watch Eiger Sanction. You want to watch a movie about him doing a baseball, Trouble with the Curve. I mean, he's got a catalog where you could be like, what comedy? Like we said, Every Which Way But Loose. He's got a little bit of everything.
He was even a damn astronaut.
Oh yes, he sure was with Mr. Lee Jones.
Yeah,
and
Space
Richard
Cowboys.
Sutherland. Yeah.
Yeah, Space Cowboys. But great pick, Tom. Love this film. Let's move on to our next film.
If there's magic in boxing, it's the magic of fighting battles beyond endurance, beyond cracked ribs, ruptured kidneys, and detached retinas. It's the magic of risking everything for a dream that nobody sees but you.
$1 Million Baby, released in 2004. He plays the role of Frankie Dunn. It was directed by Clint Eastwood. It stars Morgan Freeman, Hilary Swank, Jay Baruchel, and Lucia Rijker. I hope I pronounced that right. Rijker. But of course, I am an expert at pronouncing names. This film had a budget of $30 million and made a box office of $216 million. This film won 4 Oscars, one for Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Director, which Clint Eastwood won. I like this film a lot because, for one, I'm a sucker for boxing movies. The Fighter, this film, Rocky, all great films. I think he did a great job trying to weave that level of a grizzled old trainer who kind of gets screwed over by the people he trains. I mean, he's one of the guys he's training in the film. He's trying to pump him up to, get him back to glory. And basically he screws him over and goes over to another promoter. And he finds this girl who's dirt poor, shows that she has passion, but he doesn't want to train her because she's a girl. And he has this kind of like love-hate relationship with his co-owner and a person that he used to manage back in the day, in Morgan Freeman. They run a gym together, and he kind of grows on to love this girl as his own daughter. And then tragedy happens. I thought it was really, really done well. I thought Morgan Freeman did a great job. I don't know if Morgan Freeman deserved an Oscar for this film. I think it was kind of a makeup Oscar. I know we talked about this before, Tone, but Hilary Swank, I thought, deserved an Oscar for this film. I really, really enjoyed this one. I did find it interesting that the character of Billy the Blue Bear was actually played by Lucy Rijker, who was a trainer for Hilary Swank. So she actually taught her how to box and played the villain of the boxers in this film, which I thought was interesting. This film kind of pisses me off too with her family. Like, she does so much for her mom, and all they're worried about is their check they're getting from the government. And when she gets hurt, they go and to Disney World before they come, and Clint even tries to tell him, maybe you guys shouldn't go in there with your Disney World, shirts before you see her, and you're like, oh, we're gonna go see her. Like, it's just horrible that they didn't really give a shit about her, and the only one that really cared about her was Frankie, Clint Eastwood's character. But what do you think about it, Tom?
I want to ask you a question because when I walked out of the movie theater seeing this, I remember I called a friend of mine. And I was like, "This is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen," but I haven't seen it in honestly since around that time a lot. And does it still hold up for you?
I think it does in its own way. Like I said, I like The Fighter.
I'd like to watch it again. I mean, I love
Yeah.
The Fighter. I'm a big boxing movie fan too.
But in terms of The Fighter, I think, and even Rocky does have some comedic stuff in it. The Fighter has comedic stuff. This film has comedic stuff in it. I think they all pull at your heartstrings in certain ways. The Fighter, you see his relationship with his brother. Rocky, his relationship with Adrian, and his relationship with himself and Mick. This one, it's basically a man who had a daughter, didn't have a good relationship with her, and then he has kind of an act of redemption with Hilary Swank's character. It's sad. It's a sad film.
Yes, it is.
I think it was masterfully done. It just shows Eastwood's, he could play that asshole character and you could still love him. He did the same thing in Gran Torino. But this film, I think, blows Gran Torino out of the water. That's just my opinion.
That's why I didn't. I'll just give spoiler.
No,
That's why I
no, go
didn't pick. That's why I didn't pick Gran Torino because, for me that one, I think that one it's a good movie, but that one I think got a little bit over of how good it is. When this movie's a great movie, I mean, any movie that can win. I know Gran Torino also was Gran Torino nominated for some awards? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was nominated for awards as well.
But this movie's just again good performances, and also put Hilary Swank, put her into a different stratosphere as an actress too. For the time being.
And not to go too much off, Clint. It kind of amazes me that she's a 2-time Oscar winner, and what's the most significant film after this you can think of her in?
Well, unfortunately, what ends up happening is that actually, to be fair, she just was on Yellow Jackets, but again, that shows you what they're putting. I mean, I don't know if it's the roles. I don't know if there was some trouble behind the scenes. I'm not really sure. I know she was in this movie called The Reaping. It was nothing super successful. I mean, I don't have her. I'll take a look here. But again,
I mean, there's Freedom Fighters. I know she did that film, which was good. But even there's an article that was released 3 days ago that says Hilary Swank, she's been offered acting roles since turning 50. She's received more roles now than I ever had for work since she turned 50, which is ridiculous because she's an excellent actor. She was in Boys Don't Cry, which she was awesome in.
Really good movie.
She's in this film, which she did awesome in. She's in the next Karate Kid now. but she's a great actress. She's awesome. She's also in The Core, which is one of my favorite movies. It's a horrible movie, but it cracks me up.
She's in a great movie with our birthday boy today.
Oh, she is. Which one is it?
Insomnia.
Oh yeah.
She's his partner or whatever. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, so did I. Oh wow.
But again, she does good work, and hopefully maybe she could put out some good, some more good roles here coming up.
Yeah, and she's still young enough to, kind of claim the throne again as one of the best actresses. But it just kind of was crazy that she kind of hear about her as often as you would. Ashley Judd is actually considered for the role of Maggie, and I don't think she would have done as good as Hilary Swank in my opinion. But this is her first actress to win an Academy Award as a female for portraying a boxer. So this is the first actress to ever win an Academy Award for portraying a boxer, which I thought was pretty cool. The bagpipe tune that played at Maggie as she enters the ring is the Rising of the Moon, an Irish rebel song. Don't they call her Magushka or something like that? They never ask her what it means. They never ask what it means. But I enjoy everything about this film, but it's a heartbreaking film though. So it pulls at your heartstrings a lot. So if you haven't seen this one, definitely check this one out. It's a very shot very well. Like the pacing is good, and it makes you love Clint Eastwood's character even more.
Very awesome. Great movie.
But Tone, my man, let's get into our next film, my friend. We're hitting the final three here.
Here we go. This one's my favorite.
Yeah. Frank, you look so sad on that bus. I mean, I'm sorry. It was self-defense.
Tell me about Skellum.
You're barking up the wrong tree, Frank. Skellum's worthless.
You could have made him an LA.
It's late in the game and you're way behind, Frank.
I'm way ahead. Look, Larry, I know what you look like. I've seen your eyes.
Oh, my eyes might look different next time.
Not what's behind them won't. You better pray I don't find you, you prick.
Pray? What, do you want to kill me, Frank?
That's right.
In the Line of Fire, released in 1993, he plays the role of Frank Horrigan. It's directed by Wolfgang Peterson, who did Das Boot, Enemy Mine, Air Force One, Outbreak, Troy, The Perfect Storm, and the most controversial film, The Never Ending Story. The film stars, along with Clint, John Malkovich, Rene Russo, Dylan McDermott, Gary Cole, Fred Thompson. I put Freed Thompson into my notes because I can't spell. John Mahoney and Jim Curley had a budget of $40 million in the box office of 176. Tell me why you picked this one, my friend.
Oh, this movie's awesome. John Malkovich is awesome in this movie, and Clint is always awesome. Their interaction in this is just that scene you played right there. Their banter back and forth. Even earlier today at the dinner table, I kind of had a whisper so my daughter didn't hear it, but I love when he's like, I'm like, and my wife just stares at me. I'm like, I love the scene in The Line of Fire where he's like, you got a rendezvous with my ass, motherfucker. Where he's like on the phone with him or whatever. And like Clint, again, he delivers the line great. And just Malkovich, again, being Malkovich. I mean, like, reality is Malkovich is probably one of the biggest creeps, in this movie, and plays it to a great effect. I mean, there's a scene where like Malkovich makes like that plastic gun and he's like sitting by the river and he like shows those two kids, and just the way he shows them, he's like, would you like to see it? And they're like, yeah. He like gets them shooting them. He's just crazy. And I like the way Clint is like, he's like they're trying to portray him as too old for the job. So he's also trying to go against that. Is he losing a step? Is the president going to get hit? I mean, Fred Thompson plays such a jag in this movie because he's just on his ass like the whole entire time. And they're just, Rene Russo is great too. She does a really good job. I like, again, the movie is loaded with some of Clint's, like some jazz. He listens to jazz in the movie, like I was talking about earlier. It's something that a lot of his characters do. Again, it's a cool type of movie that I think at the time, again, when have you ever seen like a Secret Service agent like this, and when you really look at him, I mean, he plays such a great Secret Service agent too.
Yeah, for sure. I do like the background on this because he basically, the background story of this film is he could have prevented the Kennedy assassination, but he didn't. Now they did spend around $4 million, like putting his face with Bill Clinton and George H.W. Bush, having his face there to like kind of have like as his progress, as an agent, a CIA agent, not CIA, Secret Service agent. And then they matched Dirty Harry clips with JFK scenes, which I thought was kind of cool. But It's just this is a masterclass in acting in terms from Malkovich. Malkovich, there's always we'll always tell a story about Rounders when Malkovich came on set and everybody was all excited for him to come, and he does that really ridiculous voice with Matt Damon just to mess around, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's wonderful," and then he goes, "I'm a terrible actor," just to show because that's the way Malkovich is, but he is a phenomenal actor, and his delivery of his dialogue is just perfect. Like they play off each other very, very well. The chemistry is there. The clip I played, Tony, like you talked about it, like their chemistry between like Clint again with the grizzled, let me not catch you, and then Malkovich just playing a complete, psycho sociopath with his delivery, like, "Oh, you trying to kill me, Frank?" Like, because he's just joking with him, like it's ridiculous. It just shows how crazy he is, and he's just trying to stop him. Can he stop him? Great film. Looking at this, they had Dustin Hoffman originally slated to play Frank, and I'm like, Dustin Hoffman, he's like small.
I was gonna say.
The small guy. Don't get me wrong, great actor. But
just a little small.
Small guy. I don't know if he can be I don't know if he can be a Secret Service agent. But they also had Glenn Close and Sharon Stone turned down the role of Lily Raines, which went to Rene Russo, which I thought was a big mistake by them. Robert De Niro was the first choice to play Mitch Leary. Robert Duvall and Jack Nicholson would all were considered before casting Malkovich. I'm glad Malkovich got the role.
Oh yeah. Can you imagine De Niro?
Yeah,
Hey,
and this,
Frank.
yeah, I mean, he kind of did the same thing in, I guess, Taxi Driver, even though he wasn't being the assassin, he was preventing it. But this is Eastwood's last acting film as a 62-year-old until 2012's Trouble with the Curve.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he did not act for another almost 30 years. I mean, last acting only role, I'm sorry, until Trouble with the Curve. I mean, he did appear in Casper.
I know he directed, it came after this, which isn't a bad movie, with Hackman, another second Gene Hackman collaboration. It was called Absolute Power.
Yeah.
Where Hackman's like the president but I know he directed that one, but yeah.
Yeah. So every film that after this, he either produced or directed, composed, something with it, going forward. So until Trouble with the Curve.
I found it interesting too that this was the 5th collaboration between Eastwood and Morricone for a movie. This was their 5th since A Fistful of Dollars. So that's crazy.
Yeah. And I don't know, did Marconi work on Django?
Yeah, Django Unchained.
Yeah,
I believe he did.
That's
I
crazy.
just have the stuff right here. Yeah, I mean, that guy, just by looking up a rare thing here, I mean, this guy loaded.
Yeah.
I mean, it starts with Ecstasy of Gold. I mean, but it already has down to Radiohead has been involved with him. Danger Mouse, just so many different artists. It's just a lot of influence.
Yeah, he also did. I believe he did The Untouchables.
He did do The Untouchables,
which is another great soundtrack. Like, he's awesome. Like, is he still alive?
No, he passed away, I think in 2020, it said.
Oh yeah.
2020.
Oh, okay. That's crazy. He had a remarkable
91.
career.
I mean, 91 years old. He had a life.
Maybe one of these days when we do we can do a dive into composers. He'd be a great one to
That'd
go
be a
into.
cool one. That'd be a cool show to do.
Yeah. John Williams, of course, will also be on there. But this is a great film. If you have not seen In the Line of Fire, I highly encourage you to do so, just for the chemistry between Malkovich and Eastwood itself. Great done. Great pick, Tom.
Thank you.
All right, we're pulling into our final 2, and we're going to start off with my pick.
And it was it was Hateful Eight.
Hateful Eight. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, sir, you were a cowardly son of a bitch. You just shot an unarmed man.
Well, he should have armed himself. He's going to decorate his saloon with my friend.
1992's Unforgiven. He plays the role of Bill Money or William Money. Directed by Clint Eastwood, starring Gene Hackman, Morgan Freeman, Richard Harris, James Woolvert, Sal Rubnick, and I put Richard Harris in here twice, and Sal Rubnick. The film had a budget of $14.4 million and made a box office of $159 million. This film would also go on to win 4 Oscars for Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor for Hackman, Best Director, and Best Film Editing. It was nominated for other Oscars. Eastwood did not win the Best Actor award. But if you guys have listened to this show from episode 1, you know this is my favorite film of all time. As you can guess, it has to do a lot with my abuelito, my grandfather. Reason being, we watched this film, it reminds me of him. But even taking out the personal connection there, the acting in it is excellent. Gene Hackman is remarkable in this film. I agree with what Adam was saying. It's hard to outshine Hackman in a role. I think he outshines Clint in this movie. I love the way it's shot. It's the last of the great westerns, in my opinion. This is Eastwood's last western that he directed and starred in. Richard Harris, great English actor who you might know as he plays the king. Also, he was as Dumbledore. Great English actor. Gladiator, yes. Great English actor. As the Duke or the Duck. I really, really love this film. It honors Eastwood's mentors and Sergio Leone and Don Siegel. Morgan Freeman it's crazy because Morgan Freeman's in this film and he's kind of like an afterthought a little bit. Like he's good in the film, but it doesn't get that gravitas of Morgan Freeman, as in that big power role. I think James Woolvert actually outshines him a little bit in this film. But I do love the fact that he is, Clint Eastwood's pal, but Clint Eastwood has his reputation as a bad dude. William Money shot and killed children and basically everything that crawled the earth, and then he's there to kill little Bill, who's supposed to be a good guy, but is a crazy son of a bitch in his own right. You have nobody in this film is actually a good character, I would say, besides maybe the women not even the women at the brothel, because they hire somebody to kill the 2 men. One of them that scarred the woman's face, who's played by the mom from the original Crow, which I thought was awesome. But I guess the only person you kind of feel bad for is the second guy who was killed, the perpetrator, because he tries to give them a horse to make up for it, and then when they shoot him, when Ned shoots him, he's like, "I'm dying, boys," and James Woolvert's like, "Take your medicine." But even James Woolvert, even he tries to be a good person because he's never killed anybody. He tries to be this tough guy, and then when he does, he's like, "I can't do it no more. I'm not like you." But I mean, he was still a bad guy because he was still taking money from the brothel and having sex with them to get his pay. But I do like the interaction him, like in this scene where he's talking to him, and he's like drinking, and they find out Ned's dead, and he gets scared that Bill's gonna kill him. He's like, "Don't worry, kid. I'm not gonna kill you. You're the only friend I got," which always cracked me up. But it's just really, really well acted. I really hated Saul Rubnick's character in here, and I think that's the whole point of it because he plays that little smart ass news writer, and I love what his interaction with Money at the end when he's like, he basically tells him that he's gonna shoot him, and he pisses in his pants and runs away. But Hackman deserved an Oscar for this. This again showed that good westerns can be made. I can go on forever about this film. Like I said, it's my favorite film. Tell me what you think about the Unforgiven film.
Oh, great movie. A little side note, Saul Rubinek, I love, he plays one of the greatest characters ever in True Romance. He's the producer.
Uh-huh.
And the best is at the end when when fucking Bronson Pinchot or whatever, like he finds out he's like outed him to the cops. He's like, you could take your fucking SAG card and burn it. But again, I agree with everything you said about this movie. And like, as I said it earlier, one of the first movies I seen of Clint, you get right off the bat, one of his best movies of all time, and Gene Hackman. It's really cool that they were able to work together. Sometimes you're kind of curious to be the fly on the wall the first time they meet, or did they know each other prior to this? And it was something that they've always wanted to do, and they finally found the right roles with each other. Just really cool cinematography too. Really great.
Yeah, really, the soundtrack is great. Gives you a real old school feel with the the writing on the wall on the screen to kind of explain stuff, which I thought was kind of like a give it like a cool, let it sentimental feeling to me anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Throwback, you know. Eastwood, the Eastwood insisted that he wasn't glorifying violence, but deconstructing old West legends, showing death as grisly and inglorious. And I think he does a great job in that in this film, because there, like I said, there's no real likable character except one of the guys who he didn't just face the brothel worker, but he was with him and got him out from trouble. But he's the only one I kind of felt bad for that got killed.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so it just shows, there was no really good people in here. And I just love when he goes to meet Ned, and Ned's wife, who is indigenous, just gives him like the cold shoulder because she's like, he's a horrible person. But yeah, definitely deserved the Oscars. Great film. If you haven't seen it, please check out Unforgiven. If you like westerns, this is like one of the best westerns, in my opinion.
Time,
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, so definitely check it out. It's Eastwood's love, his love piece of art to basically show, all the things he learned in the westerns that he had acted in. It's his like tribute. But Tone, let's get to your film to close us out, my friend.
Listen to me. You've been entrusted with a very valuable cargo, and I don't trust you. You do as you're told. Take the routes I say. No unauthorized roads, no unexpected stops. My schedule, my timetable. Is that clear?
You sure you're Mexican? You're playing like you're the Führer or something like that. Yes, show me your papers at the border. Yes.
I'll show you my papers. Here are my papers. Don't underestimate how seriously I take my work, Mr. Stone.
I've been in combat before. I'm not intimidated by you, Mukoso.
2018's The Mule. He plays a role as Earl Stone. Again, directed by Clint Eastwood, starring Bradley Cooper, Lawrence Fishburne, and Richard Hurd. Then we had a box office of $174 million and a budget of $50 million. Tone, tell us why you picked this one to close us out, my friend.
I was when we were picking movies, we had to throw in a late era Clint and going through some of his late era ones. I didn't want to talk about Gran, Torino, so I decided we'll roll in with The Mule, because I remember me and Katie went and saw this movie, and I like this movie a good amount. I think it's again a role that fit him well. I mean, when you're into your late 80s, early 90s, you got to find roles that fit you and what will work for you. And I found it very cool that he decided to play a 90-year-old drug mule. I mean, that's not something that I would thought at this part of his career, thinking back, that this is what he would play. But I thought it was a huge chance for him. And he's just cranky. I mean, like, as he gets older here, he's just getting more cranky, like in some of his performances, which isn't a bad thing. Clint, there's some good stuff there. I mean, I was a big fan of it. He just directed it, but I thought Richard Jewell was a pretty good movie. He just directed that one. I have not seen his last movie that came out with Cry Macho. I don't know if that's good, but again, this is, Clint, and Clint's being Clint, as you could even just hear in that clip. He is as feisty as he was all the way back in, Dirty Harry. You know what I mean? And that's Clint.
Yeah, it's well, first, it's kind of crazy that this film was actually based on a Sam Dalnick New York Times article called "The Sinaloa Cartel's 90-Year-Old Drug Mule." The film shifts, real life World War II veteran Leo Sharp to a Korean War veteran, so the story fits a 2017 setting. But it's crazy that it was actually something that was similar, and I'm like, what the hell? He fits the role perfectly. How many roles can a 90-year-old man really do besides playing a grandpa or a old a veteran that was retired? It kind of goes along with him having financial trouble. He has to do something, and he had to sell drugs. He had to run drugs.
And I think honestly, and I think he's a good, fine actor, but I think Bradley Cooper does a good job in this movie too, just for what he is doing. And again, we are also loaded with, more great actors, you know what I mean, in this movie. Lawrence Fishburne does a great job, who always does, but that's what this movie is. The movie is, like, again, as you stated, it's Clint doing something that, what else can he do besides playing a grandpa? And this isn't that. So this is a little bit better than that. He
Yeah.
might play grandpa in this, but not the type of grandpa we're talking about.
Yeah, he does a great job. I enjoyed it. Andy Garcia plays a small part in this film. He accepted any role just to work with Eastwood, and he landed the part of cartel kingpin Laton here. It kind of gives you like a background of the cartels will basically use anybody to get their drugs
Product,
across,
yeah.
to get their product here, and you kind of feel sorry for him in the film. It it pulls on heartstrings. Is it one of his best? No, but
No.
it's still ridiculous to me that this man is in his 90s and he acts better than most actors coming out today. That's a true statement.
Well, again, your heroes, your actors, your musicians. Of course, you could see them in their prime. You may see them in their prime, but they gonna get older, and you love them because they're your favorite artists. You don't love them because they still sound like they did when they were in their prime. No one sounds like they did in their prime.
Mhm.
Clint is like that, like Clint is Clint. Like, Katie's grandmother is still alive, and she's the same age as Clint. And I always tell her, I always look at her every time I see her, and I'm like, just think, Nana, Clint is out there directing a movie right now, so you can do anything that you want. Because it's true. I mean, when you think of Clint doing Cry Macho at the age of 94, 95, now I'm sure he's got help on the set, but just to even be directing or have directed these movies, I mean, you know what I mean? Didn't he direct that one with Bradley Cooper, The Army? You know what I mean? Like, that ain't an easy
American
task.
Sniper.
Yeah, that's not it. And honestly, I've never sat down and watched that movie, but I can imagine just hearing and reading what it's about. A 90-year-old, almost close to 90-year-old director around bombs and stuff like that. It's pretty admirable that he was able to pull it off.
Definitely, definitely. He's had a phenomenal career, and to close this, episode on the Clint Eastwood, just his section of it, we'll give some Clint Eastwood facts here. He was nominated for 11 Oscars, winning 4. He was nominated for Best Picture for American Sniper, Letters from Iwo Jima. He won for $1 Million Baby. He won for Unforgiven, and he was nominated for Mystic River. For Best Actor, he had 2 nominations for Unforgiven and $1 Million Baby. For Best Director, he won for $1 Million Baby and Unforgiven, and then Letters from Iwo Jima and Mystic River, which he was nominated for. So he had a total of 168 wins or award wins and 189 nominations total. So that's a pretty good win to nomination ratio there. In terms of box office, he made $2.4 million as his leading actor. As a director, he made $3.3 billion. As a producer, over $3 billion. As a composer, $810 million, and with a total of about $9.6 billion in revenue at the box office, Tom, which is crazy.
Very cool.
One funny thing, Tone, about him is he lied about his childhood hardships. He actually grew up in a wealthy Bel Air neighborhood with a swimming pool and a country club membership. Clint, come on, man.
Come on, be honest.
Yeah, he also never graduated high school, frequently skipping class to pursue leisure activities. He had a one-night stand with a school teacher.
I saw that.
That was ridiculous. My goodness, Clint was a bad boy. His directorial debut was the thriller Play Misty for Me, which he also starred in, which we talked about. He paid $2,000 for the rights to Roberta Flack's The First Time I Ever Saw Your Face, featured in his films. Eastwood performed his own piano playing in the film In the Line of Fire that we just talked about. He wore the same boots in Rawhide and Unforgiven. They're now part of his private collection and were loaned to the Gene Autry Museum. Though, to tell you about that, Rawhide was first season was released in 1959. Unforgiven was in 1992, so that's a 33-year difference there. While filming Pale Rider, he fell through the ice, dislocated his shoulder, and thereafter practiced drawing left-handed. It was the worst injury he had filming a film. It's just ridiculous. This man, I don't know. He might be immortal, Tone.
He's getting pretty close.
Yeah, he's been. When I was looking at like The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, and looking at the actors, most of them are past, and Clint's still ticking. Hopefully, he gives us some other great films to go through, before he's gone. But it's just crazy that this man is still here at 90 years old, pumping out hits.
The only thing I was going to say is, he just is awesome. I mean, we could have talked for 7 hours. You know what I mean? Like, after I sent you the list, I was pissed I didn't put down Escape from Alcatraz. I love that movie. Fred Ward is on that one. I mean, just such a wide catalog. You want another, a kinky thriller. He's got one that's really good. It's called Tightrope. That's an awesome movie. He's got lots of different stuff, and that's where, we talk a lot about like, the Pacinos and the De Niros, and those are usually where your top actors sometimes are. But I mean, when you look at Clinton, I mean, he's like the pitcher who always goes out there every 5 days and he'll give you 7 innings, and at the very least he'll give up 3 runs, or he'll give up less than that, which is all you ask for in an actor, and he has done a great job.
Yeah, and when we think about it, Clint's always took care of himself. Maybe it's because he was born rich, which can explain it, but he's always took care of himself in terms of picking his roles, his directorial roles. So his legacy isn't as tarnished in terms of roles as De Niro and as a Pacino.
That's true.
So if we ever did like worst films of an actor with our buddy Sam Reeves, shout out to Sam Reeves. It's his birthday today.
Oh,
King ass.
Same as Pacino?
Yeah, him and Pacino.
Wow.
Birthdays. I couldn't really think of like 10 movies that are horrible of Clint Eastwood.
I mean, but that's, again, as you were stating, it shows a penchant for, like, as you said, I never thought of it, like the taking care of yourself by knowing that you're only going to be doing, I mean, he's a really good one. Again, is The Beguiled is a good one. Kelly's Heroes is awesome. You know, I mean, like Thunderbolt and Lightfoot with Jeff Bridges. He's awesome in that movie. You
Hang 'em
know,
High.
Hang 'em High is great. You know, you don't even sit and think about it. I've never even seen this movie, but he's got a movie with Burt Reynolds. It's him and Burt Reynolds called City Heat from 1984. I mean, Pink Cadillac. You know, it's him and Bernadette Peters. Another comedy. I mean, this guy is just spitting out movies. And they're at the very least pretty good quality movies that you're gonna sit down and want to watch. You know, it's another good one. I'll leave it at this. Charlie Sheen and Him, The Rookie.
The Rookie.
Action. That's not a bad movie for what it is for when it came out.
So the funny part is, I started laughing when you said Burt Reynolds, and I don't know why, because we talked about it earlier. Was Happy Gilmore when he sees Shooter McGavin's limo? He's like, "Oh, must be Burt Reynolds or somebody." That line always cracks me up. I don't know why, but yeah, when you said Burt Reynolds, it made me think of that line. My mind seems to wander to crazy places.
That's good.
But those are our Clint Eastwood films. Let us know if we missed any of the films that you thought we were gonna pick. You know, there was a fun going. It was really fun going through this list.
Yeah, great topic.
But Tone, let's start to close out this show, my friend. We are already over the 2 hour and 15-hour mark. Let's get to coming soon, my friend.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Coming soon.
Próximamente.
Coming soon.
Coming soon.
All right, we got coming soon. Next week, we are going to be taking a little bit of a break, but don't worry, we'll be back the very next Friday because we are going to be celebrating the 40th anniversary of The Goonies, and we're going to be talking about it right here. We're going to be talking about Joey Pants because he's in the movie. We're going to be talking about one of my favorites, Sean Astin. I know he's one of yours. He was just on the Conners that just wrapped up their final episode. Haven't you been watching the Conners?
I watched it on Netflix. I have not watched it on regular TV, so I'll catch it probably when they release
the very last episode. But again, I'm excited to dig into that. I know we have a lot of Goonies fans out there. It's crazy. Also talking sequel out there. We'll probably talk a little bit about that. So tune into that.
Yeah, really, really looking forward to this. It coincides with the 40-year anniversary, so we're going to do our first deep dive in a little while on the Goonies. So be sure to check us out in a couple weeks. Tone, before we get to the Sugar Baggy soundtrack pick of the week, what's going on the Hookup on Music, my friend?
Hookup on Music this week. We got a lot of new music coming out. We got a new album by Machine Head that just was released. We're going to talk about that. We're going to be digging into a lot of Riot Fest just released their lineup this week. A lot of artists that are some of our favorites are going to be talked about. Just digging through that. So check that out on Monday evening when that is released.
For sure. I will definitely be checking that out. You can see that over at the Sadistic Penguin Studios on there or on the YouTubes. We are dangerously close to 1,000. We are over the 745 mark, so we are gaining traction there. Hopefully we try to get to 1,000 by end of the year, if not sooner. So if you haven't, please, and you like the show, consider subscribing. Getting drafty in here. We'll be back in a few weeks. Brian's just kind of recharging his batteries, but in the meantime, Tony and I will be pumping out content for the Hookup on Music, as well as this show. When I have a little more time, I might actually release a video on a martial arts gem that I might hidden gem that I might be releasing next week, just to kind of feed some since we're not going to be releasing a regular podcast that week. But I do have some ideas that I want to do for some mini things. And we have a new member that's going to be kind of writing for us for a little bit. Which is Mr. Michael Cotton, who was on the show. He actually released a introduction blog. He calls himself the DEI hire because he is a Cubs fan, which I thought was hilarious. But he's going to have a great topic of you might not like what he's going to talk about, which I thought was hilarious. Be sure to pick up Cotton's book too, the Cubs Bible, the Bleacher Bum Bible, which we'll put the link in with the video. but we're welcoming him, have him on. So be sure to check out the Sadistic Penguin Studios website.
Yeah, talking before the show, Adam said he was game to write. He's already
Nice.
he sent me over the 3 articles he did 2 years ago, so I'm gonna sparping them up, and we got 3 articles already ready to go.
Nice.
So that is really awesome. So check out Cotton stuff. Check out Adams when it comes. Keep checking us out. We got a lot of cool stuff coming.
Yeah, and we really appreciate you guys doing so. If we didn't love doing this, we wouldn't do it. This is our outlet, this is our time to hang out, just talk BS with not just with Tony, but with you guys. We really care about your user listener input. And if you have any suggestions or changes that you like about the show, or some things you didn't like, or think we should add, let us know. We're always open to ears. We take constructive criticism, and we're just trying to get better at what we're doing.
And anytime I see you out there, I will tell you just exactly how deep our show goes on film knowledge, just like John Holmes.
Yes, you will. The only thing I cannot correct is my pronunciation. I am sorry, but I'll try. But with that, let's close out the show, Tone, with the Sugar Baggies soundtrack pick of the week, my friend. The Sugar Baggies soundtrack pick of the week.
Hello, everybody. Tonight, because we were talking about classic Clint, talking about classic movies, decided to go into a classic movie soundtrack. It's a little different than the normal soundtracks that we talk about. This soundtrack really only has just one song that you may be familiar with from a rock band, and that is The Doors' The End. It opens the movie to great. There's other songs on here. Susie Q's on here. But if you have seen the movie, just the opening of the end, and there's other parts in just the way it is kind of used is really, really great. Also available on the soundtrack, which was really awesome, was The Ride of the Valkyries, where they're dropping the bombs and they're all going off, and the sounds are amazing. I love Apocalypse Now. It's one of my favorite war movies because I think it's a lot different than like a Platoon. There's something more mental going on. It's like one man's journey into like this great darkness where you meet a crazy Marlon Brando, but the music just adds to all of this. We have brought him up in The Mule, but Lawrence Fishburne does a great job dancing to Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones on the boat. Just really cool scenes shot to amazing degree that I think honestly it helps the movie out a lot. Like if the music isn't in the movie might struggle a little bit. But that doesn't mean but like Francis Ford Coppola, he is in charge of the music along with Carmine Coppola, which is very interesting. Carmine Coppola was what was I going to say? He was the brother, the father of Francis Ford Coppola. So, which is interesting that his father and himself kind of helped compose the Apocalypse Now soundtrack, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, sorry about that cough there.
No.
Caught me out of nowhere. Great soundtrack. I'm looking at it. This film is remarkable in terms of, Coppola and his vision of the Vietnam War. It's Martin Sheen is awesome in it. I find it crazy that Brando lobbied for this film big time, promised he'd come in shape, and actually came like 30 pounds overweight. He didn't know his lines, but still shows how great of an actor he is. Pulled it off his scenes as the psychopath. general. Overall, great film, great soundtrack. If you haven't seen Apocalypse Now, I highly recommend you to see it.
That's also the greatness, I think, too, to Coppola, because Coppola could, like, he hit him in the dark. He used the shadows. All he needed to do was use, like, kind of like Jor-El, use his voice. You know what I mean? Like, and then, you know, because if it was Coppola just in a room, it might have been like more like the score when he's sitting by the bathtub, like the pool with De Niro, where he's like just looks very heavy and overweight. So very good movie, excellent soundtrack. Check it out, along with all the other awesome movies we've talked about tonight.
Yeah, it's, you know, the Hall of Fame like cast here. You got Martin Sheen, Marlon Brando, Robert Duvall, Lawrence Fishburne, Harrison Ford's in the film. Dennis Hopper. We've got to mention Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper's great.
Scott Glenn, who's getting kind of a revival in The White Lotus.
Yes,
is in this film as well.
He was great in that.
Definitely a masterpiece of film. Apocalypse Now, check it out.
Piece of garbage from Backdraft, Scott Glenn.
Yeah, he's also Jack Crawford.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, as a child, when like the reveal was that the plug where like he got shocked and Backdraft was like on his back or whatever.
Yeah.
Like before they go to that final thing and he sees it and it's like, oh, Scott Glenn, you were a jerk in Urban Cowboy, now you're a jerk in this. No.
You killed Kurt.
Well, don't worry, he got his in White Lotus. No spoilers.
Oh man, you just spoiled it for me. I'm not gonna watch it.
Oh darn, I'm so sorry.
But yeah, definitely check out Apocalypse Now. Good pick, Tom.
Thank you.
All right. That's the closing and end of our show. We are hitting the 2 hour and 26-minute mark. Not counting intro. So that's pretty good, man. Decently quick show. I want to thank Adam for coming on for his Hookup on Film segment. I hope I didn't freak him out with his 80s theme of jazz.
No, you did not. Actually, that was a great theme, and I told him before you come on, I'm like, I'm excited. I don't know what it is, and yeah, you did great.
But thank you guys for listening. We will be back in 2 weeks. Be sure to check us out. Check out Tony's Hookup on Music, and be sure to look out for some articles and new videos. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the At the Show podcast, a Sadistic Penguin Studios production.
Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?